All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the CX Monitoring Workshop. My name is Lazar. I work as a Senior Developer Experience Engineer here at Sentry. And yeah, today I'm going to talk to you about critical experience monitoring using Sentry. Before we dive in, though, because we're streaming this on multiple platforms, just a heads up, we do have a chat and a Q&A section, but on the side. So if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitter, I'm not going to be able to catch up with all of those messages. So I'm just going to pay attention to the site. I feel like majority of you are going to watch through the site. So if you're here, send me a message in the chat so we can get started conversations, right? Yeah, the Q&A side is done. The recording is going to be available because I see some people already asked a question if this is going to be recorded and if they will get the recording later. Yeah, this is going to be available on YouTube. Actually, starting even from now as we are live streaming this, but it's going to remain available on YouTube. And if you don't end up finishing or like staying until the very end of this workshop, then yeah, you'll receive an email with the link, so you'll check it out at your own time. Awesome. We already have some folks. Brian says hi all. Hello. I'm tuning in from Toronto, Canada, by the way. So let me know where you're tuning in from. And yeah, before we even begin, another thing is I want to ask you how familiar you are with Sentry for air tracking, so performance monitoring. So let me get that poll up. What was that? Let's see. If I go to CTAs, I really want to see. There we go. So yeah, let us know how familiar you are with using Sentry for error tracking, for performance monitoring, if you've used Sentry regularly or you oversee a team that uses Sentry. Yeah, let's see how people are familiar with Sentry. Now we have Alex from Italy. Hi, Alex. From Ireland and from Ukraine. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. This workshop is going to be 15 minutes, so we're going to be done by .50, whatever you're in whatever time zone you are. So yeah. All right. So the poll is done, and we can see that we have. I use it occasionally to check for and investigate errors, and I use Sentry regularly. These are like the majority of the groups, and we have 14% across. I've never used Sentry before, and I mostly oversee a team that uses Sentry. Beautiful. All right, so this is going to be honestly, this is going to be beneficial to everyone here. So let's just get started. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. All right, so we're gonna start things off with just like a brief Sentry 101. In case you don't know what Sentry is, because there were some people in the poll that said that they don't know what Sentry is. Sentry is an application performance and error monitoring platform. So think of it as like you have a software that keeps an eye on your software that you're building, and it lets you know every time something bad happens, and it's not just about errors. So that's Sentry. There are two parts of Sentry. There's the platform, which also can be self-hosted because we are fair source. By the way, you can pull Sentry off of GitHub and put it on your own server if you want to do that. If not, yeah, we are hosting Sentry anyways. So there are two ways to use it, as self-hosted or the platform itself. And then also there's the SDK part, which you install in your project, in all of your projects, whether there's like front-end, back-end, microservice, depend, like, I don't know, CLI app. CLI apps are becoming more popular nowadays with AI. But yeah, whatever whatever your project lives, or the framework itself, that's where you install it. So Sentry.io is our website. These are the two parts in general. And if you look into the platform, and you look into the all SDKs here, you'll see that there's there's a Sentry SDK for pretty much every framework or language under this sun. So yeah, 99% of the time, we got you covered. Okay. So yeah, errors and performance and all sorts of errors and performance. That's Sentry. Alexia asks, will we code or can I stay in bed? You can stay in bed because we're going to be looking into some code, but this is not going to be a hands-on follow along type of workshop. I'm just here to like explain concepts and show a little bit of code. Okay. All right. So the demo app that I'm going to use today is a taco shop app that I vibe coded, honestly. So it's a taco shop, standard e-commerce application, right? You log in, you see your favorites here. For example, if I log out, there's not going to be favorites, right? So there's some level of dynamism in the app, right? It's not just like plain and static. Let me log back in. I should have done this before, the other way around. I have this on GitHub, by the way. So if I go to github.com/calloflazar/taco shop, this is the project. Was it? This is the This is the. let me search for it real quick. Should I have this link ready up front? But I know people are gonna request for it. Call of Lazar taco shop. I maybe made a typo because I can see it here. Or maybe, yes, it's actually private. So let me make this public, and I'll send it to you so that you can do this. Okay. So in case you want to follow along and get this type of data, then you'll be able to just run this project. There we go. This is the taco shop project. Okay, so I'm going to drop it in the chat here. In the chat that we all have access to. And then we'll proceed. Sorry about this. Okay. Taco shop, let me know if you have access to the link. But yeah, this is the taco shop GitHub repository. So again, standard procedure. You see something, you like it, you add it to the cart. This is your cart page. You proceed to check out. You know, you fill up all the information and then you place an order, and that's it. You got tacos. So standard e-commerce websites with all of the the challenges that e-commerce websites have, like maybe slow performance, some errors, and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna look into this. And it's a Next.js application. So we're gonna look at some code now. Let me know if I need to zoom in even more. But you'll see that in the next config TS, we are wrapping everything with Sentry config here. We pass in the org, the project. This is for CI. And I'm also defining a tunnel route to /monitoring so that I avoid the ad blockers. And then inside of the instrumentation client and the other files that I'm going to show you, we are basically initializing the SDK. Right, so the SDK was the thing that you install in your own code base that keeps an eye and an ear to everything bad that's happening, and you point it to a DSN. This is basically, the DSN is basically the URL where your Sentry instance is that points to your org and your project. All right, so this SDK will send everything that it measures and captures to this Sentry project. And I mentioned that it can be self-hosted. So this is going to be your URL in this case. So I'm just using an environment variable, but when you create a project in Sentry, you're going to see the DSN right away there. This is how I enable performance monitoring. This is how I enable session replay, which is a screen recording. It's not an MP4 video. It's actually like DOM recording of how the user used the app at the time when an error happened. I'm enabling logs because we have a logs feature as well. I'm setting the environment, and this is automatic, by the way, so it automatically looks for node environment in JavaScript project, but I set it here just to tell you that you can actually override it. Okay, and then a bunch of integrations like replay and browser tracing. Browser tracing is needed for performance monitoring, and replay is needed for the session replay. All right. The Edge config, Sentry Edge, and Sentry Server, these two are pretty much the same files. And this is just the same thing, initializing the SDK, but in these environments. On the Edge environment, if you're deploying on Vercel, and also in the server, if you have like a long-running server, and you're deploying your app as like a, I don't know, Docker image in a Docker container. All right, that's pretty much it. This is how you set up Sentry in a Next.js project, and you don't need to do this manually. There's like we have a Sentry wizard that you can just run, and it'll get you all of these things. So it's just like a one command. All right, let's talk about CX, because that's why we're here. CX, or like critical experience monitoring, is setting up monitoring or dashboards in a way that it lets you pay attention to the critical flow in your application and multiple aspects of it. And what is the critical flow? In this case, for example, with an e-commerce website, well, that's going to be like the money maker flow, right? The user lands on the landing page. We want to see if there are any errors on the landing page, and we also want to see how fast the landing page loaded, or if there's anything wrong performance-wise, right? And then the next step is the user goes to I don't know, this is the product details screen, which is again crucial and critical. And on this screen, we want to again track errors and performance. We're tracking errors and performance across all of the steps in the flow, but in this case, we're also going to track the add to cart and like the successful or unsuccessful adding to cart, because it's tied to an error, right? If an error happens here, well, while I'm pressing this button, I will be notified just because I have Sentry, but apps can have a lot of errors. And because add to cart is it's one of the core or like the critical user path or critical user flows in my application, I want to see how errors on the add to cart correlate with something more important, like, for example, my revenue, right? This is basically putting errors and performance and mapping them, in this case, to revenue. I guess all cases, right? Why we build software, especially e-com size, because we like that revenue. So we're going to do that. Then we have like the cart page, which of course it's empty now because we made a checkout. But I'm gonna let's get this taco, the void. Yeah, I like the corn with extra cheese. Add it to the cart. This is the cart page. Also, really important because this is where we also go to the checkout, and this is also remove items from the cart, or like increase or decrease the quantity. And then we have the checkout, and this is basically the cherry on the cake. This is where we get the money and we place the order. So that's the critical flow, these 4 steps. That's a homepage, product details, cart, checkout, right? We might have search. We might have lots of different pages, but like this is the moneymaker flow, or like this is the flow that I really want to pay close attention to it, right? And yeah, we're going to define this in a dashboard with all the widgets aligned top to bottom. Okay, that's pretty much it. So I mentioned the homepage. You notice that the favorites are showing up a bit, later, because I do need to take some time to check for authentication, and if I am authenticated, get the favorites, and then lay the or just like do the layout here. So yeah, the page loads fast itself, presumably, but there's like a little layout shift in there, right? And I already have these dashboards ready-made, because I don't want to go through creating all of these widgets, but I'm going to go through and explain all of these widgets. So the way that you're going to set up your CX monitoring dashboards, I find it to be in columns, right? So the first flow, or the homepage flow, is the first column. This is the homepage page load. I'm going to zoom in. This is the homepage page load widget, and it basically tells us how much time does the homepage require to load. And we can see that it hovers around the 1 second, around the 1 second mark there, right? In order to put that widget, I created a new widget, named it. I'm using the spans as dataset because this is going to be a performance related widget. So I'm going to be in, for example, errors or logs or metrics. It's going to be performance or spans related widget. The type is just area because I like this type of chart. And then I'm visualizing the P90 value of the duration of the span. What span? We'll talk about the filter, but I'm visualizing the P90. So P90 means that 90% of the users are experiencing performance better than 1 second. Okay? That's basically it. It's just like a cut because there's always going to be outliers, but we want to see like the majority of the people without those outliers. If we were to use an average, then those outliers that take 30 seconds for the page to load, they're going to bring the average up. So I'm not using average, and that's also why it's not recommended in any performance monitoring ever to use averages. You just use percentiles. I can also make a cut at the P75, right? That's basically, these are like the P. So I keep it as P90, and I am visualizing the P90 of the span duration. Okay, and that's why we have this. So we have this chart here, and then the next step is defining your filter. So, for example, the operation of the span is a page load and navigation. In this case, it's like a hard navigation or a soft navigation. That means someone might click on the logo of the page and navigate back to the home page. That's going to be a navigation. It's going to be a soft navigation. Or someone's going to be tacoshop.com or whatever the website is, hit enter. That's going to be a page load because you're literally loading the whole page. So I want to capture both of them, and I want to make sure that the description contains slash or like the home page, right? And that's how we have this widget. All right. And if you're wondering what all of these things and the spans and these things are, I can actually show you. I'm going to show you how everything looks like, how the dashboards are pulling the data from. This right here is called the trace view. And let me hide, can I hide my camera somehow? Let me see, there we go. So this right here is the trace view. This is all of the data, pretty much all of the data that the SDK captures from your application. Okay, so all of the operations in a waterfall-like chart that gives you an idea what loaded, how long it took for it to load, any database queries that my application executed, any HTTP requests that my application executed, etc. So there's a lot, right? And this is just a navigation. So it can get a lot. Page loads contain a lot more data and spans. But these are all spans. These are the spans that we're talking about. Okay, so this navigation span is the navigation to the home page, right? So this one, actually, this one is from the product/Slack, but doesn't matter. You can see all of the attributes that you can query from this view right here. Right, we can see that the operation is a navigation. This is the name, that is the description, the category, what is the browser, the client sample rate, what is the device, it's a Mac, I'm using a MacBook here, the device's memory, this is the environment that I showed you in the code base, and all of these other information. So I didn't define these one by one, right? I just installed the SDK. The SDK, because it knows that this is a Next.js project and the SDK itself is the Sentry Next.js SDK, it knows how to capture all of these spans automatically. So that's all I did. I just ran the wizard, one command line, and I got all of these things, right? I even got some like geo stuff in here as well because I enabled it. If it's using TurboPack, yes, I am using TurboPack, right? All right, so that's what spans are. And if you go back, here, then we see how long the home page loaded, because we got all of the spans, we isolated only the ones from the home page, and then we visualize the P90 of the duration. And that's basically all of these other it's how all of these other spans are defined, right? For example, for the cart page, if I click on edit widgets, same thing. The description is /cart, right? In this case, it's going to be automatically the operation is going to be both the page load and the what was that, span.up user page load, and also the navigation. There we go. So both of these things. And yeah, I just hit save widget. So I keep an eye this way. I keep an eye of the overall page loads of all 4 of my critical steps in the critical flow. And that's how I can see if any dips are in there. These dips, as you can see, maybe something happened. Maybe I pushed a release. So while there was a new deployment happening, the page load dropped. But I know that it's there, and I know where I know the time as well. Okay. So the next thing that I want to show you is actually I'm gonna make a cut here, so that we can just look into this this part right here. This is the page load, right? It's pretty straightforward. This is how we load how long it takes for the page to load. Then we have errors, and in this case, I have two. Like in this dashboard, I have 2 types of widgets for these dashboards. So first one is the table widget, which you can see here, and then also the errors widgets. I created both, so you can see how everything looks like. And for the cart, for example, you can see that there's this error happening on the cart page, on the /cart page, and it's an M+1 query, right? So I know that I have an M+1 query issue on the cart page. If I open it, it's going to give me all the information regarding, what is the URL what is the query that got executed against the database. I can look at the trace here, and we can see that. Well, I should have zoomed in. Oh, wait, can I just go into the full trace and see it here? View full trace. There's the button. If I zoom in, there we go. If I zoom in, we can see that, there's a select everything from products. There's another one, select everything from products. There's another one, select everything from products. So this is the M+1. This could have been one query, but I have one that pulls stuff from the cart, and then for each of the items, then I'm doing another or like a query for each of the items. That's N+1. Okay, so this is the table view, and this is also like the line view, and both of these are defined exactly the same, right? In this case, we have the name. We're using the errors data set because we want to get some data from the errors and not spans in this case, right? We're only interested in errors. It's going to be a line, not a table. The other one is table. And yeah, transaction is on the /slug, and this was the product details error widget. So this is the product /slug. I'm just grouping them by issue and title. In this case, I only have one issue, so that's why we don't see it here. But that's pretty much it. If I click the expand icon, we can see, yeah, error, failed to add to cart. Okay, that's going to tell us something later. But these are the errors. Then we have some interesting widgets, like for example, visualizing the CLS. All right. In this case, again, it's performance. CLS is the cumulative layout shift, the thing that we saw from the home page. If I hit refresh, See how the layout changes shortly after the page loads. I want to keep track of that. We can see it's like 0.25. So I just created a widget for that, right? Description is slash, the operation is page load, and I'm visualizing the P90 of the CLS score. And again, this is all being captured by the SDK right out of the box. And then we have some another widget called favorites load time, and this is that favorites section. But in this case, I'm actually using the metrics data set. Okay, and this is a custom one that I need to show you. So we're gonna look at some code now. Okay, so for the metrics one, we have the favorites wrapper file. In this case, this is basically the favorites section, and I use the element timing attribute here to just mark this element as the favorites section. Okay, and this is a browser API. It's Chrome only for now, but it's going to give me a good idea of how long the favorites section takes to load. So I'm just marking the element here, and then I also built myself an element timing reporter that creates a performance observer. It gets all of the entries, like all of the elements that I marked as element timing with the element timing attribute, and I'm just sending a metrics. I'm sending a metric for that element. I'm getting the render time out of the API, and the unit is milliseconds. Okay, so that's what metrics is. It's not a span. It doesn't have children or like child spans. It's just a number that I want to report, right? This is how we send metrics. And when we dip into the metrics data set, we can filter out all the metrics. In this case, I'm using just one, the favorite section.render time. And I want to visualize the P90 of it. That's pretty much it, right? No filters, no group bys, very straightforward. And we can see that it's hovering around like 3 seconds, right? We have the 3000 here. These are milliseconds that we're looking. So we're talking about 3 seconds on average, just below 3, to load the favorites section. Okay? Yeah. If this is too slow, I can dig in and investigate more. But what I wanted to show you is the correlation that this type of layout of dashboards give you. For example, let's look at here. We have a total number of total dollar value added to carts, and this is in the second column. So this was like the product details page, or like whenever people are clicking the add to cart button, I'm sending a custom span. Okay. And let me show you that part. So in product details, where I click on the handle add to cart button, I am sending a custom Sentry span like this. The name is going to be add to cart. The operation is going to be UI.action because I'm clicking a button. And then I'm also sending a bunch of attributes. And these are the attributes, or some of them, that I'm going to use to correlate the data with errors, which you'll see in shortly. So this is going to give me a callback with the span that I just created. I can do my fetch here inside, and then based on the response, I'm going to set the span status. Right? In this case, I'm just going to set the status to 2. 2 means error, 1 means okay, and I'm just going to pass in a message, invalid argument. Doesn't matter, right? Otherwise, I'm just going to send this, and I'm also going to capture the error, the exception itself, because we're doing that here. Okay, so we're doing that. It's all good. That means that we're getting all of these attributes up in Sentry. Like, what is the product ID? What is the product name? The quantity? The total price of the cart? Where we're adding it? Any customizations? And customizations were these things, right? Those kind of things. So I'm sending those, and in my CX monitoring dashboard, I want to correlate the errors with the dollar revenue, right? So that's what I have here. We already saw the product details errors widget, which just gives us a line of how many errors happened at what time on that specific page. But on this widget right here, I am using data from that custom span, the cart.total price. So again, top to bottom, display name, we're using spans dataset because we are sending a custom span, not a metric. I'm just going to visualize the sum value of the cart.total price attributes, which is this one here, right? The total price of the cart. And I'm sending that as just like a number. Oh, I don't want to close my terminal. I'm sending that as a number, and then I have two filters. One, the description is add to cart, the span description, because that's how I named it, right? Add to cart. And the second one is when the span.status is okay. That means when the add to cart span happened and there was no throw, no catch, right? The span.status is okay. And that's this code block right here, span.set status, right? So this means that these are my fulfilled dollars or fulfilled add to cart, right? Otherwise, when I say the span status is not okay, right, it's everything but okay, then that means it's unfulfilled dollars, for example. I'm not grouping by anything. And that gives us this widget right here that basically correlates with the number of the errors on the product details page, right? So we can see that when this thing shoots up, this thing also shoots up. And the darker blue is the unfulfilled dollars, all right? So essentially, this is how much I'm losing dollars, $2,600, for example, I'm losing because of these errors right here, all right? This is the reason, or like this is the whole goal of the CX monitoring dashboard, is when you put things and align things like this, you see how they correlate, different things, errors versus dollar price in this case. Okay, if for example there was like another spike right here, where there isn't, if there was another spike right here of product details errors, but it didn't actually affect the checkout or like the add to cart, I can prioritize that a bit lower, right? But in this case, I can clearly see that I'm losing money over this heap right here. And if I click on here, I can see that, and like zoom in like this, I can see this is the list of the errors that are contributing to lost revenue. And it's just one error, failed to add to carts. All right, let's actually check it out. This thing happens. This is our code. This is where we set the status. We already saw this, right? But yeah, the server responded with not 500. I'm gonna skip the session replay for now. Yeah, API post on /API/cards resulted in 500. But if we scroll down and look at the trace preview, we're going to see that there's one other issue that appeared in the same trace, which is incompatible customization. Interesting. So the front end reported failed to add to cart, but the backend reported incompatible customization, but we didn't actually see that in the table. It's perfectly fine. If we click on here, then we're going to look into this. All right. So there's something with the customization of the item that is incompatible. If I scroll all the way down into the contexts, I believe it was the contexts. Well, was it on the previous one? Actually, we do have the items here. No, that was not. Doesn't matter. What I'm trying to show you is this. If I go to slug, add to cart, I'm setting all of these things, product details. Yeah, cart dot customizations. Yeah, they're basically they're on the span. They're not on the error. What am I talking about? So if I go back here, revisit the error and click on the span itself, and yeah, the view full trace, we're going to see that if this thing failed to add to the cart, if we scroll down, we're going to see, oh, there's are the customizations. So the crispy corn tortilla with guacamole and sour cream. So in our business logic, these customizations do not go together. You can't have a crispy corn with guacamole, because if you do a delivery, then it's not going to be crispy anymore, right? The guac and the sour cream is just going to make it mushy. So for some reason, for that reason, let's say we decided that these two are not going to be, we're not going to allow people to order these two, right? So, but the front end did, and the error happened, and that error affected the revenue right here. Right, we saw that when that error started to shoot up, and also the unfulfilled revenue started to shoot up. So yeah, this was basically like a debugging flow. We understood that the front end is allowing that to happen. So I'm just gonna go in and try to fix it, right? Yeah, and then we have on this side with the checkout errors. And again, same thing, because this is the most important thing in CX workflows. It's just aligning widgets and using smart data to correlate one thing or like one trend that's happening to something else. All right, let's check out this thing. The checkout errors is going to be pretty much the same, right? The transaction is on /checkout, just counting all the errors, and I'm grouping by issue and title in case there are more. And also, if I want to do this, then I can see the issue and the title here. In this case, if something went wrong, please try again later. Does this error affect revenue? Yes, it does. So when we look into here, we can see that when this error shoots up, then the unfulfilled order.total, sum of the order.total shoots up. So yeah, again, we're losing money in here. If I click edit widgets, it's pretty much going to be the same. All right, two filters. Two filters means that there are two visualizations on the screen right here. So yeah, one is where the status is okay, one is the status is not okay, and I'm visualizing the sum of the order.total. And if I go to the checkout screen, there's checkout. If I scroll down to that block, there's a checkout form. Actually, it was in a form. There we go. Oh wait, sentry.start span, just like before. We give it a name, UI.action, because it's like a form submission. We give some attributes here. These are all the attributes, like the street, zip code. But order.total is basically the total amount of money that the user is trying to check out. And then again, we are setting the status to 2 or 1, depending on the response. Okay. So yeah, same thing. Correlation is here. We can see that we are losing money here. All right, if I look into the checkout errors, we can see that it's error. Something went wrong. Please try again later. If I open this one up, so again, this is on the front end. It's Chrome, right? And scroll a bit down. Again, post on /API/checkout 409 error. Ah, look at that. There's another issue that appeared on the same trace, price mismatch exception. So this is what the backend reported, right? The backend reported there's a price mismatch happening when the users try to perform a checkout. And why this is happening? Well, users might have items in the cart from like way back, and in the meantime, we have changed the price, but they still have their those items with the old price. So when they try to check out, there was a price mismatch. Okay, and that's, for example, we're doing that logic or checking here. And again, this was an issue that first we saw that it happened on the front end using the trace, because we have distributed tracing turned on. We saw that there's another error that's happening on the backend side. That was the exact error, price mismatch exception. Maybe we could have, improved the error reporting on the front end. Instead of something went wrong, actually get the error, price mismatch, try to refresh your cart, or add like a good message to the user. But nevertheless, we see what it is now. We see what it is now, and then we can go in and apply the fix. But most importantly, we saw that it actually affected revenue. Again, when that error showed up, this is also the unfulfilled revenue shoots up. And we want that line to be like this, flat. Actually, I realized that my camera was covering that. But yeah, this is the line that we don't want to be looking, we don't want to see going up, because that is the unfulfilled revenue line. Okay, so this is essentially the CX monitoring. It's basically a combination of using multiple data sources that Sentry captures for you, like all the SDKs capture for you, both automatically, because we saw that the page load was automatic and the errors are automatic or can be manual as well, and even some custom stuff like the total number of dollars, the total amount of dollars added to the cart, or the how many dollars that users checked out, and that's a sum of them. And these charts are already telling us all of the users that are using the app at that exact time in production. Okay, so yeah, this is what I wanted to show you in terms of CX monitoring. And yeah, every app can be different. Every app can have like different critical flows. So yeah, just if columns do not cut it, because we have just like 6 columns in this case, you can do things in rows if your user flows are more complicated. In this case, yeah, I just have 4 steps, and I just did these double columns. Okay. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to show you is the homepage CLS. We saw that it shot up, right? And we immediately see that it's like 0.25 from the start. And this could be like a bad example, but a good example would be it's 0, and then it shoots up after you've pushed some stuff, or like some new features to production. You've caused a bug, and you saw this from 0 or 0.05 or whatever, from like a low value shooting up and staying there, right? That looks like a bug. When you see that go up and you don't want it to go up and it stays there, that means you've caused something. And I want to show you how, in this case, we can also see why the CLS is happening. So I clicked open in Explore, because Explore is going to help us dive deeper, like dig deeper in the data and like look into individual spans. But I want to show you in this case is the attribute breakdowns. This screen right here is going to get all of the span attributes in this time frame, all of these spans that match the filter, and they're going to basically do a breakdown of all the attributes. So if I do is authenticated, this is a custom attribute that I'm adding. We can see that like 100% of the of all the spans report high CLS when the is authenticated is true, and like 0% when it's not. So this tells us that the CLS is happening only to logged in users. Okay, this is immediately putting us in the right rabbit hole to debug this. So we're talking about the homepage, logged in versus not logged in. I can go to the homepage, I'm logged in here, I can immediately see it, but if I log out, I'll see that the favorites is not showing up. So when I compare these two sessions, logged in versus not logged in, I'll see where the CLS is coming from. So that's how you can also even use like the attribute breakdowns. But your starting point is the widget on the CX dashboard that you created, right? You don't want CLS on the homepage. You don't want CLS anywhere, to be honest, right? Or like especially on the checkout. Maybe I should have done a widget on the checkout, because if you're trying to click on the checkout button and then the layout gets pushed, you'll be very angry. But yeah, I can just create a new widget that tracks CLS on the checkout page. But regardless, I went into the explore page from the widget. In there, I went to the attribute breakdowns, and yeah, saw that it's that there's a difference in is authenticated versus not. Okay, so yeah, this is how we can look into. Oh, no, that was not supposed to happen. So we can look into data in our Sentry in our Sentry data, but cut it up, filter it, group it, and align it so that we can see correlations. We can see which errors or slowdowns really hurt us. And in this case, because it's an e-com site, these things hurt us. It's the dollar value that we're losing. All right, let's focus on Q&A now. Alexi asks, how much Sentry traces impact CPU on low-end devices? Let me see if I can get this on the screen. But to answer it, there's not like a certain number, like 5% on the CPU, right? That's something you should measure. It's something you should definitely measure. The idea with Sentry is, yes, basically every line of code that you run in your app, whether that you wrote it or someone else did, is going to contribute to slowdown, right? But the idea with Sentry is, yeah, it might contribute to slowdown in your application, but it's going to give you like data like this that's going to help you debug further why your app is slower or slow in general, and then you can use it. You can use this data to make it faster. Okay, so even though like Sentry might bump up the performance or like the slowdowns on your application using the data, at the end it's a net positive, because you can use it to make it faster than before you installed Sentry. Okay, so I can't give you like a really strict number. This is how much. It also depends on the It depends on the device itself. But yeah, it will cause some slowdown, but it's not gonna be noticeable. It's not gonna be noticeable. And if your app is already slow, you're gonna have a ton of data to look into your dashboard in Sentry when you get it. Do we have any more questions? Okay. Are there any way to visualize go-to-market source scripts contributing to web core web vitals? Yeah, performance. Google Tag Manager, not Google Tag Manager. Yes, you will. So let's actually do this. I'm gonna open this in Explorer. I'm gonna go to the I'm gonna get navigation off, so I want to look only into page loads. I'm gonna go to one of these traces, because these are all the traces that are page loads traces. Click into one of these and check this out. So inside of the trace view here, I can see all of the resources that are being pulled. Okay, so I don't have any Google Tag Manager scripts, but they're going to show up here automatically. Okay, and you can see that on this side, you can see that these are generally 0 milliseconds, except for this one, which is 1 millisecond. But if there's a Google Tag Manager, because these are like all local. If there's a GTM script, then you're going to see it here. Do you have any tips, advice for improving analysis when the JS framework used is not directly supported by Sentry SDK? There's always the browser SDK. Sentry.io. There's always the browser JavaScript, and that runs everywhere. Okay, so whatever you can do from the browser JavaScript, that's it. The idea with the Next.js or framework specific SDK is that you get more automatic instrumentation out of the box, but it's not a limitation. If you're using frontend that is not supported, it's still JavaScript at the end. Okay, the Sentry SDK the browser SDK might not know like the lifecycle events of the framework, but you can always manually set things up. Yeah, and you can use an AI. You can just point it to Sentry's docs and just ask, hey, please instrument this part of the code base using Sentry instrumentation. Send it to send the agent the docs, and it's going to instrument it. All right. Yeah. Hope that helps. This is what we are at the end of the session. Really. Awesome. Thanks for watching. This was a quick one. I hope you get some value out of it. We're gonna send you, or we're gonna show a little poll at the end, just to like tell us how all this went and everything. But yeah, just vibe code on USDK, right? Exactly. Awesome. If you wanna replay, go to our YouTube channel and you'll see it there. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.